Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss the legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedoms and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, the President and General Counsel of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country in the courtrooms of America. Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedoms.
Will abortions be funded by Obamacare? The question is still in the air. Hi, this is Sean Akers, Dean of the Helms School of Government and Policy Analyst with Liberty Counsel. And joining me in studio today is Daryl Edwards, President of Liberty Alliance Action. Daryl, as you know, the abortion issue and the public funding of abortion with federal dollars has yet again made it into the news, this time in a very striking way. Recently, a group, particularly the Congressional Research Service, CRS, put out a report that said, sure enough, just like everybody had feared on the pro-life side of the debate, that Obamacare would in some circumstances cover and could not avoid covering with federal dollars abortions, particularly those in what we call the high-risk pool, meaning those that have a pre-existing condition. Well, immediately, groups of pro-life partners, especially those like the Susan B. Anthony List and Family Research Council, flew into action and brought this to the president's attention and indeed to national attention. And within a single day, pro-abortion opponents claim that we won that victory, that the president issued a statement that is going to protect the unborn, especially from elective abortions around the nation. Now, that seems to be good news on one hand, but I'm not sure that it's good news all the way around.
Well, as Job said, the thing we feared most has come upon us. And we had said this all along when they were debating the Obamacare bill. And it looked like this is what's going to happen. And unless we can pass some legislation that would ban abortion funding, federal funding for abortion, it's going to be fight after fight after fight. And it's just going to be constant vigilance is going to be required because they're going to bring this up every time, every state, every new pool, new funding mechanism. They're going to try to sneak this in. So hats off to people like National Right to Life who are watching it carefully and blew the whistle on it and forced Kathleen Sebelius to backpedal a little bit to the chagrin of people like the National Abortion Rights Action League and Planned Parenthood who are crying foul about it.
You know, you make an incredibly good point, Daryl. One of them is the fact that this is dealing with only one section of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, what we typically call Obamacare. This is not the entire act. This is one section dealing with what they call the high-risk pool. And in that one section, the government organization itself, Congressional Research Service, had to come out and admit in its own report that what we feared has definitely come upon us, that there are provisions in here. So you're absolutely right. Even with whatever victory we have right now, we don't know what's in the rest of this bill. We're going to have to, exactly what you said, going to have to see this same issue arise over and over and over again as long as that piece of legislation exists.
Well, Douglas Johnson, who's the legislative director of the National Right to Life, he wrote, there was no language in the health care law, there was no language in Obama's politically contrived March 24th executive order that effectively prevents federal subsidies for abortion on demand. He says unless Congress either repeals the health care law or performs a major corrective surgery, there will be years of battles ahead of us each time they try to implement something new.
That's, we have to stop now and go back and visit all of the folks that most of the members of Congress call naysayers when they said, wait a minute, you've thrust upon us a bill that is a couple of thousand pages long that nobody's had a chance to read, that you didn't allow us to read publicly, you didn't make publicly available before it was passed into law. And what you've told us repeatedly is that there would be no public funding of abortions in this piece of legislation. And only just in the weeks afterwards, we find out that yes, those fears were substantiated. They really were there.
Well, that's especially true for those who, some of the Democrats who claim to be blue dogs and other things, who are especially coming out of conservative districts. I think in our own area right here, the 5th District of Virginia, the congressman, an ardent Catholic, had said, no, I would never vote for anything like this, but he's being proven to be wrong.
Well, that's exactly right. This high risk pool, it's part of what they call the pre-existing condition insurance plan. This is the part, the specific part that we're dealing with right now. Now, to let you know, to put this into a little bit of perspective, this is a $5 billion portion of Obamacare. $5 billion federally funded dollar portion of Obamacare that services some 400,000 people when fully implemented. So we're looking at a very large portion, but yet only a drop in the bucket compared to the entire piece of legislation. So this is the time when we need to develop a very good memory as elections roll around and people are on record as having supported this piece of legislation. People are on record having said that there would be no public funding of abortion in this piece of legislation. They ask us to take them at their word. They stood on these things. And now they need to be able to stand on their record because it's about to come around to we the people, to the voters, to decide how to deal with this, Daryl.
Well, according to Politico in a story they wrote, they're really dependent upon this federal money because what they're saying now is because they've got a Democratic-controlled Congress, they've got President Obama in the White House, and they've got a recession. They're just boo-hooing that they're not making any money anymore. No gifts are coming in to Planned Parenthood and NARAL, which I'm just happy as can be about. But so they're dependent on the federal government, as they have been for years and years, to make up the difference for them.
That's exactly right. The far left has come out and really thrown a fit about this move and said that basically you would think from reading, especially the story in the Politico that you reference, it's a July 29th, 2010 story in Politico. You would think that the far left had lost the abortion fight altogether, but the fact is that we see that they're having some fundraising problems. And that brings up a second thing, Daryl, is particularly what we're talking about in this case are what they're deeming as elective abortions. So before, while we are very glad that there's been any act at all taken to protect unborn human life, we need to take it in perspective that when you term something elective, you've got to ask yourself some very natural questions. What is an elective abortion as opposed to all other abortions? And who decides whether an abortion is elective or not?
Who makes the election decision? Is this a doctor? Is this just an uninformed person? This is why they fight so hard against showing ultrasounds or any requirement that people would see that this is a living human being. And because they don't want that information going out there, it helps, it dampens the elective nature of it.
Well, it does. And when you put a term like elective in, and then you have to ask yourself the question of whether your doctor's going to make that decision, a panel of doctors are going to make that decision. Is a government agency going to set the parameters on what is an elective abortion or not? Is it elective if the mother says that she's going to suffer mental stress if she doesn't have the abortion? Is it elective? So it's a very fungible definition all by itself. It's something that can be distorted all by itself. So I don't know how much true gain is made by the president's actions. Obviously, we'll take any victory that we can get and any amount of defunding that we can get. But as you and I have pointed out in the past, two things. Not only is the definition porous, but the fact is, if those funds are routed to another place, it frees up funds for abortion. So in the long run, the fact is that we need our listeners to be on the phone with their congressmen and congresswomen and their senators, letting them know that Obamacare not only is not what they wanted to begin with, but it's what we feared that it would be. It's going to cause the public funding of abortions, and it needs to be replaced.
Yes, it's going to be a continual battle, and with the elections coming up, I think it's a time to be looking at putting people in office who will take those steps to radically change this, either repeal Obamacare or certainly the very minimum restrict abortion funding.
Well, if you'd like to find out more about the abortion debate, you can go to our website at lc.org and pull down the 16-page abortion packet that's there particularly to educate you on this. We also invite you to call us at your convenience at any time to find out more about what we're doing and what you can do to help at 1-800-671-1776.
You have been listening to Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel. Our hope is to encourage and inspire you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedoms. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email update. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.